All right. I gotta get the stream started. I'll explain later. I'll be talking about Producthunt today. Hello. That's not the intro. Building an indie business in the center of venture capital. I'm Alex Edmonds, and this is the Building an Indie Business podcast. Okay, I'm gonna be talking about the Producthunt launch for the podcast that I did, but first I want to say hello to all my listeners in France, and then I want to thank Fajar, Sergio, David, Pradeep, James, Amadine, Naya, and the rest of Open Podcasts and the MakerLog community for supporting me on Producthunt and with the launch. For this episode, I'm going to be talking about the two goals that I had for the Producthunt launch, how I prepared, a little more about the preparation, how to have a successful launch, in my opinion, the benefits of Producthunt, the problems that Producthunt has. Now what am I going to do that I launched on Producthunt, before and after. So before and after the Producthunt launch, a little bit of stats, the results of the Producthunt launch. Someone kind of gave me some feedback, so I'm going to be talking about that for a bit, and then I'm going to review the experience. Okay, so the two goals that I had for the Producthunt launch are to get people to subscribe and to get email subscribers. Okay, how I prepared. The first thing I did is I created a GIF of the two logos that I have. So I have a blue logo, just with the words, building an indie business. I have a red logo of that. And then I have two logos that Fajar created for me. So his version of the podcast logo with my face, and he gave me a red one, and I made a blue one out of that. So I created a GIF because, why did I create? Okay, I created a GIF, sorry, because on Producthunt, when you're seeing all the listings of the products, it'll show all the changing pictures, and it'll catch people's attention. They actually recommend doing this. And so I thought mine was a little fast, but I think it caught more attention. I created a landing page. I'll be going into that more. I researched when to post. So you're supposed to post at midnight Pacific Standard Time, which is actually my time zone. So it was a little easy. And I did it on Sunday going into Monday. So I had the entire Monday to promote my launch. I had to stay up late because I go to sleep at 10, 11, no, I go to sleep at 10, and so I had to stay up till midnight to post the launch, or to post it on Producthunt. I wrote copy. I made sure to mention Open Podcast a bunch in the copy, in the actual Producthunt listing. I created a new trailer. I'll go into that a little bit more. And I bought a domain, baib-podcast.com. Okay, so I want to talk about the landing page. Basically, I didn't put that much effort into it. I took supremerumham.design. I took that homepage, and I just wrote everything out that I had for my stuff, and then I added some Open Podcast stuff. some podcast stuff about the podcast. So specifically what I did is I made it like a preview of the type of content that you would hear on the podcast. So I broke it down into 3 different types of episodes. So the first episode would be about podcasting, like how to interview someone, how to market your podcast, things like that. So that was the first chunk, and I had a preview of the episode, I had an embedding of the episode of how to interview someone, and then I had a little copy about podcasting and like what kind of episodes I'm doing about podcasting. Okay, the next embed example is I had about community building. I talked about how I'm using the podcast to grow open podcasts, and then I had how to grow a community as the example. And finally, I talked about web development, and the example I used was learning SaaS, because I don't really talk about web development anymore, because as you know, I use Discourse for my forum, and so that didn't take a lot of effort. And then the blog, I used Ghost, so that didn't take a lot of effort. So I don't really talk about web development, but I will in the future when I build the custom form. Okay, so the next thing I did was I put a link to the most popular podcast players so that people can easily just subscribe to the podcast. I had Apple, Spotify, Google, and the RSS feed. And then the final thing I had, the final thing I had on the front page was a link to the mailing list at the bottom of all the examples. And then I also added an about the host page, and then I just talked about me for a bit, and then I had a link to Open Podcast, because everything I do is about promoting Open Podcast, so that's why I made sure to mention Open Podcast a bunch. Okay. Then I created a new trailer for the podcast, and I specifically only had it on YouTube, and the trailer was just basically an audio version of the landing page. So I just talked about podcasting, I read the copy, community building, I read the copy, web development, I read the copy, and that was about it. It was about 50 seconds, something like that. Okay, how to have a successful launch. The Alex Edmonds version. Okay, so you want to launch it at 12 a.m. PST, and the reason you want to do this is because you have the max amount of time to promote the launch. So you have 24 hours, and on Producthunt, the way it works is that it'll show the most popular things that have been launched on the site that day, and so you have the max amount of time to potentially be on that top. And then tomorrow it's still there, but it's at the bottom after today's stuff. And so I'm still getting upvotes right now, but it's not as impactful as yesterday. Okay, so after you have posted on Producthunt, the next thing you want to do is you want to tweet it. And you want to be careful with what you say in your tweet, because if you solicit upvotes, then Producthunt will punish you, make you weaker in the algorithm, or might just take off your Producthunt launch. And so what you want to do is you want to say, hey, my product is listed on Producthunt, and that way it's like code, people know to go upvote it. So I tweeted about it, I promoted it in the communities I'm in, I promoted it in MakerLog and Open Podcast. That's why a lot of Open Podcast and MakerLog, they upvoted my product and they commented. Everyone I mentioned in the beginning, they commented, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. The next thing I did was I made it a milestone on Indie Hackers. In my opinion, Indie Hackers is only really good for community and their milestones because there's not a lot of interaction on Indie Hackers, so you have to use the milestones. Finally, I promoted the launch on Reddit. I promoted it on r/side projects, which is how I promote the podcast. So those people are familiar with me. And I did the same thing. I just said, hey, I launched my podcast on Producthunt. Here it is. Check it out. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the benefits of Producthunt. You can get potentially a lot of traffic in a short amount of time, 24 hours. I'm going to talk about the traffic I got later. Next, a benefit of Producthunt is that it's free. You don't have to pay anything. A benefit for me for Producthunt in terms of podcasting is that Producthunt is sort of like the people on there, the audience, the Producthunt audience. They're sort of my target market, but not really. But some people might come join Open Podcast after hearing my podcast or seeing my launch. Sorry about that. Okay. Problems. You're potentially going to have high turnover. So if you launch a community on Producthunt, you're going to get a lot of signups, but then a lot of people that don't come back the next day. It's part of the process. The traffic isn't organic. You need to promote your listing, and then that promotion that you've done and the people that come in because you've promoted it will help you get to the top, and then more people will see it. If you just list your Producthunt listing and just don't do any promotion, no one will see it. When I did a Producthunt launch for Alerts for BTC, just to check it out, I only got 5 upvotes. But this time I had the community. I listed it everywhere. I prepared a lot, and then this time I had a lot of upvotes. Okay. A lot of preparation. I did the new trailer. I did the audio. I created a lead magnet also, but that's a little different. A lot of things. I had to create new logos because the size of my logos weren't appropriate, or they didn't fit well with Producthunt, so I had to create new logos. A lot of preparation. I'll talk about this later. Staying up late. So I had to stay up late, and I'm not used to that. I specifically streamed the launch of the Producthunt launch. I stayed up for an hour extra, and what happened was I streamed it just to keep me awake. I forgot to mention that in how to have a successful launch, you should stream it so that way people are watching you, and as soon as you launch on Producthunt, they'll know and they'll upvote it. You can send it to them even in the comments. Okay. So, staying up late. Another problem that I had was deciding what links to add to the listing. So you can add multiple links, and I have 50 different links from from every different player. So I was having trouble figuring out what links to put. And so that's why at the very top of the landing page, I had the most popular links, but also that's kind of, I want people to subscribe right away. So by having the landing page, they can't subscribe right away. And I didn't want to have too many links because that would overwhelm people and prevent people from subscribing. So I had the Apple link which was the most popular. But the problem with the Apple link is that excludes people from Google people from subscribing to the podcast. I thought about putting the RSS feed, but the RSS feed is a little weird because if you click on the RSS feed, it just brings you to the actual RSS feed, and some people might not know you have to copy and paste it. So yeah, that was one of my big problems. Another problem I had was people would only upvote and they wouldn't actually check out my link. And like I said, my goal was to get people to subscribe and sign up for an email, my email list for the podcast. And by only upvoting, you're not subscribing to anything. So yeah, now what? Now what am I going to do since I did the Producthunt launch? I'm going to use everything I created to list the podcast on similar websites. So I think betapage.co is a similar website. So I'm going to list the trailer, the different images, the GIF, if they let me. Okay. So now, before the Producthunt launch, the Sunday, even like so minutes before, I had 5,292 downloads and 3 email subscribers. And the results for the podcast, I got 0 email subscribers and 110 downloads. But the problem with the downloads is it's not an accurate measure, because on Monday, so the second I listed the podcast on Producthunt, I had a new episode come out. So people downloaded the new episode. Okay. So the results may have been pumped up. I think I already said that. So the results of the Producthunt launch from the Producthunt side. I think I finished 13 out of 20, in between 12 and 13. So there's the top 10 products, and if you clicked more, you would see my product. So I think I did decent, especially for someone who doesn't really use Producthunt. Yeah. And then as of right now, I have 139 upvotes. 2 people have upvoted it since last night, which is good. Continuing traffic. Nothing to complain about that. I have 18 comments. I'm going to address one comment because I thought it was really funny. So people can review, and it's basically an upvote or a downvote. 4 out of 5 recommended my podcast. So 4 out of 5 dentists recommend the Building an Indie Business podcast. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so the landing page, I checked on Full Story. The landing page got 128 views. I haven't gone through all the views. I don't know how many people clicked. Okay. Okay, so this guy, this morning actually, he said, I like the podcast and that's why I upvoted it. But this guy has less energy than a priest at a funeral. And I want to address this comment. First of all, I thought it was really funny because it's true. Sorry, needed water. But, first of all, he clearly, the way I commented it was, I don't know enough about priests to respond to that. Which is true, even though I went to Catholic school for 7 years. Okay. He clearly didn't hear the episode, The Results of Dogs and Web Development, when I yelled, viral! After that episode, I was asked not to yell, so that I've had that mindset. But for someone, me, who listens to so much content from comedians, I should be able to figure out how to make the podcast funny, without having to yell, which is true. Also, I have been discussing since before I started the podcast. I remember having a conversation in March, the month I launched the podcast, about how to make it more funny while giving people value out of the podcast. Let me see, what else do I have? It's difficult to focus on your energy levels and making the podcast and the content at the same time. So right now, I'm in front of my notes, the podcast recording software, and I'm focused on the notes. I'm not it's difficult to focus on like my energy when I'm trying to figure out what to say. You know what I mean? Also, on the topic of priests, priests say the same things over and over again, so they have the ability to focus on their energy levels. They don't have to focus on the content. Like I said, I've been working on making the podcast funny since I started. Most of my current jokes are very deadpan. I'm not going to point them out to you. I'm not going to say, get it, after I make a joke. So, one joke that I made, which I can think of that, is when I was talking about the forum. I said upvote, downvote, side vote. That was a joke. The new intro is a joke. I'm making fun of like regular newscasts or different podcasters where they try to make it all professional and talk like this as their podcast. And I laugh after too. So, I'm laughing at the joke. That's why I laugh every time. Okay. And finally, I used to tell random jokes at the end of the podcast. I used to wait 5 seconds looking at the software, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I would just tell some random old joke that everyone knows, like, why did the chicken cross the road? Or two guys walk into a bar. Very common jokes. So, yeah, that I think I've addressed that comment enough. That was like 2 to 3 minutes of just that. Okay, and finally, review of the experience on Producthunt. I don't think it was worth it. I mean, it wasn't worth all the effort because I had to make the GIF. I had to resize my logos. Had to write all that copy. Lots of work for little reward because I only got 110 downloads. I'm not sure how many subscribers. I don't think a lot, because a well-written article on r/podcasting would have given me more traffic. Lots of clicks. The goal was subscribers. Let's see, what else? I think it's really funny that people say, oh, if I have a successful launch, I'll be set. That's not true. It's a lot of little things that you do to become set or be successful. And that kind of reminds me of comedians and how some would treat the Tonight Show the same way. If I go on the Tonight Show and I have a good set, I'll be good as a comedian. People will come listen to me, and that's not true. Would I do it again? Would I launch on Producthunt again? Yes, and the only reason why is because I have all the assets prepared already, and it's free. It's free traffic. I don't really pay attention to what people say anymore. That guy was right. I got a lot of praise. I would do it again just because I have the assets and it's free traffic. So yeah, that's the episode. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day. Bye. Okay. That was it. That was the episode. Right. So now, give me a second. Alright, I'm back. The reason why I had to start the podcast immediately was because we're all quarantined here in the house and people are loud, and I asked them not to be so loud. Okay. Alright. Yeah. I don't know. I've already done like three newsletters. So I think I'm just gonna upload this and then leave. Producthunt. BAAB. Oh, I didn't mention. Did I mention people are spamming me? I don't think I did. Yeah, so it's not a big deal, but people keep spamming me because they're asking me like, oh, do I want to keep in touch with people that upvoted my product? And no, I don't. Leave me alone. Okay. Yeah, so this is it. Oh, let's check my Twitter DMs, because that's where the spam is coming from. This guy, and this guy. Notice it's all the 16th and 17th, this guy. Right. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Alright. Hey, I'm just uploading the podcast episode to Anchor. Yeah, it was a super long episode. I think it was 23 minutes, which is, 23 minutes, almost 24. I had a lot to say about Producthunt, and I think I even missed a point or two. So, yeah. That's about it. That's all I have to say about it. Any questions? I have my phone right in front of me, so I can answer any questions you have. The two of you have. Alright. Yeah, so I'm waiting for it to upload, and then I have the headliner thing waiting to finish, and that usually takes a while, so I don't know if I'm going to do it. And this time I've been streaming and recording a lot, so I think I'm just going to do this and then head out, unless you want to ask me anything. Oh, Jesus. I literally have a note right here that says, keep track of your workflow for tomorrow, and I completely forgot about it. Okay, so let's do that. I take notes. It's not writing right now. Take notes. Use Audacity. Headliner. I have a workflow doc here somewhere. Workflow. Where is it? Okay. Podcast workflow. Yeah. For audio. For video. Record with mic stand and Fifine mic. Is that what it's called? Streamlabs for live streams. Restream. Hey, I'm just waiting for the podcast episode to load and taking notes on my workflow for the podcast. Okay. Restream for multiple platforms. Alright. That dude wasn't interested. YouTube for transcripts. Overcast. And why am I writing it down when you can see everything here? It's because writing it down will help me figure out what else I do. Did I put MailChimp for email? Yeah, pork bun to buy domain. Dude, I think I have everything here. Like, there's not much else. Yes. Okay. For listening plus social media videos. Okay. Transistor for posting. Twitter to promote. Oh, Dev2 as well. See, I don't have Dev2. Plus dev.2. Type forum. Pork bun. MailChimp. BMC, Buy Me a Coffee. I've actually never done a transcript before. It's too much work to edit it. Okay. I think this is it. Yep. See, look, it's still in progress right now. That's how long it takes. Hey, just uploading the podcast to Anchor. And yeah, any questions? I recorded an episode about Producthunt. It was a long one. I think that's the longest episode I've done besides a book review on like a 500-page book that I read. Okay, let me get this all out of the way because my keyboard is to the left of me or the right of me. Okay. Okay, so any questions? I'm watching the podcast on Producthunt. Should I even bother putting the launch on the show notes? I don't want to promote them. Yeah, so I'm not going to. I don't care. I don't care. Let's do April 6th. You know, sometimes when no one's watching my stream, I just feel like putting on music, but I don't. Just in case someone shows up. Hey, someone showed up. How are you? Any questions about what I'm doing? Anything that I was just talking about? I was mostly talking about how I launched the podcast on Producthunt. So this is 58. So this would be 57. I'm doing the notes for the launch. No, for the podcast episode. 16th. Oh, April 6th. Any questions at all? I'm totally open. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. I discuss launching the podcast on Producthunt. Producthunt. I go over okay. My goals. Hey, just doing the notes for the podcast. Any questions at all? Alright. Almost forgot this. I don't need it for this episode. The podcast, blog, website. Email any questions. Support this podcast. Okay. Let me check the old email. Design remotely. Recording a podcast on a Tuesday. Alright. I applied to this company. Fun fact. I don't know. That's all I have for now. Sanaya here. That's all I really wanted to do. Alright. 46 minutes. Sounds good to me.